Hey guys, my name is Kay, and welcome back to the sad story of Emmeline Burns. In the last episode, we found out that our main character is named Toma Andrews, and she finds comfort in cemeteries, thanks to her upbringing of her mother. So, let's get started. The day is overcast for early autumn, and a thick layer of fog creeps along the ground. The grass is wet with morning dew, but the soil beneath it is firm and hard. I suppose that's to be expected. You wouldn't want to build a graveyard on marshland, where people would run the risk of falling through the earth and into the graves. I might have an affinity for the dead, but not even I fancy popping in for an unexpected visit with Gerald Fisher, 1843 to 1912, and Emmeline, wife of the above. It's cold, too. The wind snakes down my spine, and I shiver. It isn't a rough wind, though. Instead, it's soft, brushing past my cheeks and through my hair in an almost apologetic manner. The leaves on the trees are dark green, some already turning red and yellow, but the sun in the sky is obscured by clouds, so everything looks gray. My feet crunch over the stray leaves with every step I take, but that's the only sound I can hear. Just me, the wind, and the leaves. As I walk through these well-trodden paths, I pause, examining each tombstone that catches my interest. There's something strangely inviting about these old slabs of stone, almost as though they're greeting me. And why wouldn't they? I come here often enough. They should know me by now. Any other mother would probably find their only daughter's obsession with graveyards unsettling. Fortunately, my mom is just as weird as I am, so she doesn't question it. She must know my love of graveyards is all her fault. I nod my head in recognition as I pass each tombstone. Alistair, Doncaster, Irene Douglas, Charlotte Draper, Doreen Hughes, Abel Johnson, Genevieve Parson, Aubrey Wedgwood. I wonder about these people, reduced to nothing more than just names and bones. What lives did they lead? Were they happy, sad, or merely bemused by all the coincidences that led them into their being? For Alistair Doncaster, that happened in 1879. For Irene Douglas, it was 1894. What was the world like back then, when these people were alive, and their footsteps, not mine, crunched the leaves and fell firmly against the compacted earth? I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine it. As I walk through the graveyard, like Alice sinking into Wonderland, a heavy thought suddenly strikes me. What would it be like if I was already dead? I close my eyes. The cold wind blows across my cheeks, and I swear I can almost smell it. The earth in my nostrils, the scent of decay. Ha. What was that sound? It was almost like a footstep, but that can't be. I'm the only person here, after all. At least, I thought I was. Not anymore. A young girl stands there, arms held by her sides, her eyes wide and blue. Her hair is loose, light brown, her fringe cut just above her eyebrows. She wears a white dress, long and modest, which falls to her ankles. Her dress is comprised of a number of layers, and it looks like something that belongs in another era, another time, in England, where Queen Victoria was on the throne. And the horse and carriage was still the main way people got about, and it was socially acceptable to wear bonnets in public. She looks like nobody I've ever seen before, except characters in period dramas. There's something so unrealistic about her appearance, I can hardly bring myself to believe that she's really real. Maybe that's why I'm doing something I rarely ever do. My curiosity unsticks my throat, and I find myself asking her a question. Are you going to a costume party? Are you referring to this old thing? That dress doesn't look like some old thing. It's expensive, right? I believe it was rather dear when Father first purchased it. Now, however, I am not particularly well versed in the economy, so I could not give you an answer. Father? What kind of girl calls her dad father? Maybe I'm just biased, because my dad vanished before I was even born. Mom told me he couldn't cope with the commitment, which was quite funny, really, because he had no qualms about commitment when he asked me to sleep with him. But father sounds far too dated. And I haven't even touched on the other stuff she said. Oh, the girl smiles. Her face remains pale and does not flush, but I can imagine blood coursing through her cheeks all the same. She gives the impression of blushing, even though she does not. I suppose most people would use dad nowadays. Forgive me. I'm not familiar with such a phrase, and it sounds quite peculiar to me. And the plot thickens. My questions only seem to invite more questions, and I find myself drawn towards this strange girl despite myself. I want to know who she is. I want to understand her. It must be this feeling, this desperate thirst for hidden knowledge, which encouraged Mum to track down what now remains of Zachary Kendall, Maribel Spencer, Rose Bradford, and the rest. So, I've not seen you around Barrowby before. Do you live here? I have lived here for a very long time. But you don't look much older than me. I will be 15 years old this December. At least, I should be. So she's 14, too. You say that you lived here for a long time, but I've never seen you before. You don't go to St. Hugh's, do you? She shakes her head. So, what school do you go to? Ruskin? Sandon? Not Walton Girls? She shakes her head again. Then, are you homeschooled? That would explain what she's doing in this graveyard at 8:20 on a Friday morning. Wearing such a strange outfit, she might be as well have fled from one of those old-fashioned photography parlor places. I suppose I was homeschooled, yes. I have never been to school before. I used to have Ellie, but I have not seen her in some time. Ellie? A private tutor? Something like that, yes. She was rather strict. She got so angry when I escaped from her stuffy old history lesson and hid over at the Lentons estate. She smiles a soft, gentle smile, like an old woman with the rheumy eyes that might when recalling a fond memory. I don't know if I have ever seen anyone my age pull a face like that before. Just who is this girl? But you don't have a tutor anymore? There wouldn't be much point anymore. Is she one of those YouTube celebrities then? She looks the part in those clothes. I can imagine her as one of those eccentric, self-proclaimed living dolls who get thousands of subscribers for eating food on camera. So, I'm sorry. This is the first question I should have asked. What's your name? Emily. Emily. I think I can remember that. It's a common enough name. There are 2 Emilys in my class, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner. I don't know if this name fits the girl in front of me, though. Emily sounds too simple, somehow, and unfinished, too, like a sentence ending without a full stop. I don't investigate any further, however. I hardly know the girl. What right do I have to ask so many questions? And, if it would not be too rude, may I inquire as to what I should call you? Oh, I should have expected this. When somebody asks for your name, it's only polite to ask for theirs in return. I don't like answering this question, though. I never have done. Just what is my name anyway? It says Toma on my birth certificate, but I can't bring myself to believe that. Not when I was fated, before I took my first breath, to be called Amelia. Oh my, do not look so troubled. You will make me feel guilty. I'm sorry. Huh, what a funny girl. You don't need to apologize. She thinks I'm funny, does she? That kind of strings, given how peculiar she looks. That kind of stings. You do not need to tell me your name if you don't wish to. We all have our own secrets. Are you sure you don't mind? I am quite sure. I could just make up a name for you instead. Well, I hope you're not averse to the suggestion. I rather like giving people nicknames. I would always call Miss Warren Ellie. Her first name was Helena, you see, but she got mad at me because of that, too. This girl has no manners, she would always say. She may have a pretty face, but she behaves like a gutter snip. Snipe? Hikaru's night? Not that I have gave a button about what she thought. Father was paying her enough, so I thought it best to make her work for her wages. She may have found me irritating, but I certainly wasn't boring. Well, I suppose it's fine. Then, I can think of a name for you. Yes, it doesn't bother me. Anything would be better than Toma. Well, let me see. Emily looks me up and down, one finger against her lower lip. Her smile is teasing, and her eyes flash mischievously, like a naughty schoolgirl's in an Enid Blyton story. She'll be talking about condensed milk and tinned sardines next, I'm sure of it. It is true we do not know one another very well, but that is just in the present. I feel that we could become quite close, if given the chance. You remind me so much of her, after all. Can it be a mere coincidence? Her? I thought so from behind, too, but when you turned about, it became clearer than ever. You have her nose, and her eyes, maybe even her forehead, too. But it's hard to tell, since it's all covered in hair. Well, I look at the ground, suddenly awkward, and dig the tip of my school shoe into the earth. I shift my right foot slightly, making a small indentation in the earth, a minute grave for an ant. I don't know if I like being compared to other people. I do that enough myself. Even if I do look like one of your friends, I don't think I want their name. I was hoping for a name of my own. Yes, of course. You do not need to worry about that. I would never be so callous as to dress you in the title of another. I apologize if it seemed that way. She does sound sorry too. Truly sorry. Even if you look like her, you are not her. You couldn't be. It is not possible. A sigh. So, let me see. A name for you. A name that belongs to you, and only to you. Ah, I think I have it. From now on, you can be Verity. Verity? Do you like it? It's pretty, much prettier than my real name. Emily smiles, her face flushing, though once more it doesn't really flush. I just imagine that it does, with happiness. I'm so glad. I thought that virtue names might be too anachronistic nowadays, but I truly am fond of them. One of my aunts is called Charity, and my grandmother was Patience. Not that she was particularly patient. She used to hit my father for the smallest of misdemeanors when he was a young boy. But that was a long time ago. Her face darkens, but only for a few moments. At any rate, I'm curious. Why are you in a gloomy place like this at such an hour when you should be at school? Oh, I just like graveyards, I guess. They're relaxing. Relaxing? That is quite the strange thing to say. Why do you think that? I'm not sure. I just like them. They're nice and quiet, and people don't come here much. When they do, they're quiet too. It's the respectful thing to do. Apart from the local boys who tramp about here, drunk, on Friday nights, and piss in the graves and scrawl rude words on them. I glanced at a nearby grave, that of an Elijah or Elisha Farrell. Somebody has scrawled across the top of it in black marker pen, "God is dead." It seems we have a Banksy of our own living in Barrowby. Who would have thought? And I like thinking of stories too. Stories? Yes, graves are small, and the people buried underneath them are turned into names and dates, nothing more. I think there must be more to these people than that, though. What were their parents like? Did they have any siblings? What was their job? Were they happy? What about other people they met, whose lives they may have changed, without them even realizing it? I don't know about all of those things. I would never will. It's fascinating, but at the same time, it's a little sad. I blush, my hands hanging limply at my side. Did I say too much? I think I might have said too much. This is why I don't talk to people at school, other than Hattie. It's because I'm weird, and I know my fellow classmates, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner included, would just laugh at me. Well, maybe Emily wouldn't. Emily is too nice to laugh at anybody. That's what I think, anyway. It probably sounds stupid, though. No, I think you made some good points. I did? Yes. Every person has a story, and there is not enough space on a single tombstone to tell it. The sad truth is, there are so many people in this world, it is not possible to remember every single story. As the years go by, they fall by the wayside. The dead must always concede to the whims of the living, even in places like this. Emily looks back at Elijah, or Elisha, Pharaoh's graves, decorated with the biting political commentary, "God is dead," and sighs. I like thinking of stories too. In fact, I could tell you a story of my own. I have been turning it over in my head for quite some time, and I would be intrigued to hear your response. I wouldn't mind. Are you quite sure? I don't want to bore you. I can't remember the last time anybody wanted to hear what I had to say. No, I'm quite sure. I would love to. There was nothing else I wanted to do here anyway. Nothing other than wander, trying to avoid thinking about school next Monday and how much trouble I'll be in when it's discovered that I've been playing truant. I always run away from my problems. I have done ever since I was a child. I must have inherited the admirable trait from my father. Well then, if you would follow me. Emily turns, her hair fluttering, and slips through the graveyard like a shadow. I follow her, curious but cautious, as she leads me behind the church, where the trees are thicker and there are even more graves. She draws my attention to a tombstone just one tombstone of many. It juts out of the grass like a tooth from a gum, slightly crooked. A few cracks run down its dark gray sides, and the top of the grave is fringed with pale yellow lichen. The name engraved into the tombstone is a little difficult to see, and pressed only shallowly, and I have to strain my eyes to read it through the fog. I didn't explore the graveyards of Lincolnshire in my youth for nothing, though, and am more skilled than most teenagers when it comes to reading inscriptions on tombstones. Here lies the body of Philip Burns, 1807 to 1851. Also Perita Burns, wife of the above, 1811 to 1851. And Emmeline Burns, their beloved daughter, 1836 to 1851. May their souls rest in peace. And I think we're gonna stop it there. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.